Mörk Borg is the RPG that worried parents from the 80s thought actually existed. The game itself has got all the darkened themes of a black metal album and artistic trappings that land somewhere between Stephen Gammell's work and scary stories to tell in the dark and a DIY concert poster that's been stapled to a light pole. All the documentaries and news pieces of yore that proclaimed playing tabletop role-playing games would lead to interest in the occult, Satanism, rock and roll music. Well, they all turned out to be absolutely right, I guess. Because here I am, 35 years old, I'm wearing a ghost t-shirt, I'm sitting beneath the framed deck of tarot cards near my kitchen table, and I'm making a review about how I'm enjoying the hell out of this game. First off, let me tell you what Mörk Borg isn't. It's not a dense, crunchy, or simulationist set of rules for playing elf games. It's not even a medium-weight Goldilocks RPG that has just the right balance of flavor and mechanics, typically my preference. No, Mörk Borg is mechanically the emaciated husk of a more traditional RPG's corpse. However, that cadaver is bloated with evocative innards that are ready to erupt as a necromancer raises their palm and speaks the words that would cause it to explode and smatter you in its vibrant gore. It's got an OSR vibe, but without all of OSR's baggage, but we'll get back to that in a minute. The book itself reads like a punk zine with words that hug jagged lines and splash down in crooked blocks of text, spewing gouts of color that perfectly punctuate an otherwise photocopied black and white vibe. The world of Mörk Borg, which by the way is Swedish for dark fort, is a gloom-soaked, bleak hellscape on the precipice of an apocalypse where the sun never shines and almost nothing good ever happens to anyone. Fantastic. While I do typically prefer those mid-weight Goldilocks games, the sheer level of personality that Mörk Borg oozes more than makes up for any sort of action economy or racial traits that those games might beguile me with. Mörk Borg carries a solid framework, or skeleton, if you will, of mechanics that have a very organic flow to them. It's got all that you need, really. There's 4 stats, some weapons, some armor, there's a form of currency, and a simple task resolution system. Of course, there are rules for damage, healing, death, leveling up, and morale for when shit goes sideways, because it will go sideways. Luckily, there are also omens, which give you the ability to momentarily twist the fate of your character's miserable life in their favor. But the keyword here is momentarily. The optional mechanics of the game are some of its most interesting bits in my opinion, and I don't really consider them optional, but you can. Hey, I can't tell you how to have fun. Of those options, my favorites are probably the classes. Each class has abilities that drip with flavor that further explain the world, much like item descriptions in Dark Souls. It's a very tiny and granular thing that kind of leaves you hanging on, what's that about? And it gives you a lot of flavor about the world without saying very much. Even the class names in Mörk Borg all tell a story. The lore is baked in with the names such as Fanged Deserter or Wretched Royalty. There are also a series of rollable tables for things like terrible traits, bad habits, how your character's body is broken, and much more, which is pretty great for character creation if you're lazy, uncreative, or happen to be both. It's also really great for pre-gens, convention games, and just getting started very quickly, having a descriptive character that took a very short amount of time to roll up. Are you sensing a theme in games that I like? Because that also is one of the main characteristics of Shadow of the Demon Lord. Anyways, I digress. Your character's probably going to die. Soon, anyways. And this doesn't seem to be a game for soliloquies or 3-page backstories. Maybe it is for you, and if that's what you want it to be, that's great. It's not really the vibe that I'm picking up from the pages of Mörk Borg. Another favorite bit of the game for me is the Arcane Catastrophes. What doomed world scenario would be complete without the potential of colossal magical failure when you cast a spell? If you roll the same result twice, not only will it guarantee that your character be set ablaze with black flames that dance with the shapes of the faces of the damned, but there's a d20 table full of more awesomeness to endure. That includes magical diseases, a thirst that's only quenchable by ashes, and having all of your teeth fall out. That's right, all aboard the fun train, because Mörk Borg can be a romp and a riot. Front to back, Mörk Borg clocks in at less than 100 pages, perhaps being an entire body of evidence that page count doesn't mean shit in RPGs. It manages to cram pure brilliance into such tight spaces that it's outright confounding at times. For example, each monster in the bestiary, while there aren't many, is extremely flavorful and includes the prices of its bits if they were to be brought in and sold. From price per pint of blood of zombies to how much silver a live captured troll might bring you. I absolutely love this single droplet of monster hunting, dare I say, Witcher flavor. It does so much to tell you more about the world without doing it in prosy paragraphs that ramble on about the Third Age of the Fourth War of the Dynasty of the who gives a fuck, let's just crawl some dungeons and kill monsters. Another great example of said game design sorcery is that you can determine how long you'd like your campaign to last by simply choosing the size of the die that you roll on the miseries table each day. Oh, didn't I talk about miseries yet? Well, within the lore of Mörk Borg, it's basically guaranteed that the world will end at some point in time while you're playing it. There's no avoiding the apocalypse. When it's all over, you'll set your book on fire, tear up everyone's character sheets, and head into the dark, dark forest where you and your group will dance naked around a pyre while wearing headdresses made of antlers and teeth. That last bit is completely optional, but highly recommended. Among everything else I've already mentioned, there is an absolute treasure trove of tables to roll on that are full of cool things to find and do. A flavorful and brief explanation of the world that's just enough to set your mind alight with ideas to make your own, and so much personality that it's honestly hard to describe without you seeing the book for yourself. Let me say that I've been playing role-playing games for over 20 years. I own a lot of books. Way too many for the size of my very small home. And I can safely say that this is easily one of the most unique and memorable books that I have on my shelf. And it's definitely one of the most beautiful too, if not the most beautiful. Symbaroum definitely wins for the most beautiful RPG book I've ever seen or owned, so I guess the Swedes really do know their shit when it comes to aesthetics. Again, it's worth reiterating the simplicity of this game. It has no perception stat, no grappling rules, no movement rates, no damage types, no magical subsystem, and not much else to weigh it down. That means it's not going to be for everybody. I'll admit that at first I found myself double-checking the pages to see if I just somehow missed some detail or two when I first ran the game, because something this simple is definitely outside of my wheelhouse, but I wound up just setting the book down and rolling with whatever came to the efficient tool set that the game provides. I relied on stats, improvised roleplay, and the basis of the mechanics that were laid in front of me. And so far I'm really loving that. And I think you might too, especially if it's something that is new to you. So until next time, guys, game excellently with one another, and thank you for sitting through this video. This is something that's new to me and my channel. I'm going to be trying to redo my YouTube channel here with content that is of much higher quality than the random trash that I put out over the years. Mörk Borg, I'm sorry, Mörk Borg. I've done so well not butchering it this whole time. Mörk Borg was created by Stockholm Cartel and funded on Kickstarter. It releases today, February 25th. You can pick up a copy from Free League Publishing's website or from DriveThruRPG using my affiliate link. If you use that link, I get a little smidgen of that in my DriveThruRPG account that we can use to buy more RPGs. Thanks, guys.